Do you struggle with thinning the ball out of the bunker? What about fatting it and leaving it in? What if I gave you the tools today to make bunkers look as easy as this? Well, if that's the case, I'm going to give you the 3 most important things that you need to do in a bunker to make sure that you get out every time. So being in the bunker is a nightmare for a lot of golfers, and it really doesn't have to be this way. When you understand the 3 elements I'm going to teach you in today's video, you'll understand why you've been hitting the shots you've been hitting and how easy it can be to get out of these things first time, every time. So let's cover off why those 2 shots you saw at the start of this video, what causes those shots? Well, the thin shot is simple. Golfers think that they have to lift the golf ball out of the sand. So they take their setup, they have their ball forward, and then all of a sudden they think they have to try and lift the golf ball up in the air. And what this does is this keeps the club out of the ground, and it basically gets you to hit the equator of the golf ball, and you can see that that ball that I hit is sailing into the water on the other side. So what about that fat shot that you saw? Well, that's when the club enters the ground too early, too deep, and it stops that golf club from coming out of the other side. So what ends up happening is there's a lot of sand between face and ball, and you can see how difficult that would be to get that ball out. This golf club loses all its speed, and unfortunately that ball goes about 2 or 3 feet in front of us, rolls back down in my case, and we've got to try it again. So how was it that I was able to get the golf ball out of this bunker with one hand and with barely any speed? You didn't see me thrash the golf club at it, but it was very, very simple for me to do. So listen up right now. We're going to cover off the 3 elements that you need to consider to try and get this ball out of the bunker every time. So the first thing we need to do is we need to set up to the golf ball correctly. So what this means is I'm really talking about where the chest is located towards the golf ball. So when I set up, I want to take a nice wide stance. Okay, so kind of similar to a driver. I want the ball position to be just inside my lead heel, and I want to basically feel like I push my left knee over the ball of my left toe, okay, or the ball of my left foot. So it's going to look a little bit like this. And what you're going to find is this right leg becomes quite long, but more importantly, when I set up very neutral to this ball right now, the golf club or my chest is behind the golf ball. So what I want to do is I want to push forwards into the ball of my left foot. And what I'm going to notice is that club is now moved and my chest has now moved on top of the golf ball. And what this is going to do is it's going to help me set my low point, my strike location. It's going to make it very simple for me to hit the correct part of the bunker. Secondly, we want to control our low point. Now this comes back down to the setup that we just had. When I set up correctly, my low point becomes more forwards. If you set up like a normal 7-iron, let's say, my low point is way too far behind the golf ball. So when I set up in a bunker, nice wide stance, forward, this is going to set my low point so that I can strike the sand ahead of the golf ball and not behind. And finally, as you've probably noticed by now, when I set that club down, I set it down open. That gives me an opportunity to utilize the bounce. So when we set up to this golf club, I want you to open the golf club so that the loft is pointing straight up at the sky. This is going to allow me to hit the sand with the back edge of the golf club as opposed to down and digging in with that leading edge. So if we can put that all together, we're going to grip the golf club, ball position forward, pressure left. That confirms my low point. I'm going to open the club face. I'm then going to take my grip, and then basically I want to hit the sand with this bounce of the golf club going into the sand and then coming out. Makes it really easy to strike the sand exactly where I want, and it'll get the ball out first time, every time. Now, if you're someone who struggles to use the bounce, you struggle to release the golf club. Now, what I mean by that is we want to obviously get into our setup position, but then we want to feel like the club passes our hands. That is what we call releasing the golf club. A lot of golfers will actually stand here and try and drag the handle, and that's what digs that leading edge into the ground. So we want to try and feel like we release the golf club and hit that sand with the back edge of the club. And what I want you to try out is this. I want you just to play around in a bunker, obviously not on the golf course during a competition, but I want you to feel like you can sit here with one hand and just get some sand out like this. See how I'm not taking much? I'm letting the back edge of the golf club graze through the sand. That is releasing. And then when I do that on a golf ball, you'll see that the golf ball actually came over my club head. You can see I'm not pushing it forwards like that. I'm actually just getting straight underneath this ball and sliding it under. And once you've done it enough times nice and slowly, you can start to build up. And then what you'll be able to notice is that that ball almost actually got out of that bunker with that tiny little swing. It wasn't fast, but what I was able to do is reduce the amount of sand between my club face and the ball nearly actually popped out with that very, very simple shot with one hand. Pretty simple. So let's do this one more time now that you know how to release the golf club. We're going to set up to our golf ball. I actually like to set the face open first. So if I come in here, I set the face open, I then grip my golf club, I then take my stance, okay? Take my stance, set my body in place, my face is open, my low point is controlled, and now it's all about releasing the golf club and trying to hit the sand with the back edge of the golf club. So there you have it, guys. This shot is not as scary as you make it out to be. As long as you've got the technique required to get out of this bunker, sometimes it can actually be easier when you're in these bunkers as opposed to around the greens on tight lies or muddy lies. Those can become a lot more difficult than just being in the bunker. Now, if you do struggle with different lies around the green, watch this video that's on the screen right now, and you're going to understand the 3 most common lies that you're going to find the golf ball sitting in the rough and how to play them.